Hey Fiverr friends, it's Michelle and I'm back from the wild, wild west. It wasn't really wild, but it was wildly gorgeous. Oh wow, like it was stunning. I think I spent a lot of the time with my mouth hanging open. It was just so beautiful. But I have missed getting on here and recording Stashdown episodes. And I was gonna do it. I was back last Wednesday evening. So I was off Thursday, but just kind of tried to lay low and take it easy. And then I was off Friday and I spent the entire day at the Salzier in Verona. I think I got there between 9:30 and 10 o'clock. Started knitting and, my day of self-care. And then quickly realized that it was late night knit. And I hadn't been to late night knit there in months and months. And so I was like, well, I'm here for the long haul. And so I was there until about 9 o'clock at night when it was done. Enjoying the heck out of the whole entire day. So I really needed that. Got to knit with a couple of my good friends and it was great. Fantastic. Tom joined us for just a little while and was his yarn daddy self, just hanging out and chatting with us. But yeah, I had a good time. But nevertheless, both days just kind of ran out of time or just wasn't home to come up here and do this, even though I kept thinking I should do it. And then Saturday and Sunday, I just kind of had to continue to just take it easy and go slow and try to rev back up to re-entry on Monday, which honestly, as for re-entry, I keep saying, people keep asking me how was it to come back, and I was like, well, coming back on Monday to things that I had to catch up on from the previous 2 weeks, not as horrible as it could have been, not as horrible as it has been, but I tend to be kind of super superstitious about saying things like that, and so I was afraid that if I kept saying that out loud to more and more people, that the week would just go steadily downhill. So in terms of re-entry from a what happened up to the time I came back point, it was actually not as disastrous as it could have been. It's actually pretty, manageable, but I am a little bit behind on a couple of projects. I got to get back to work tonight from home and jump on my computer and get to some projects. But I have been just absolutely squirreling it, Doug the dog all day. My brain has just wanted to go think about creative stuff and not about stuff that I had to do at work. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get done what I can get done, try to get my hard reset myself into work mode, get a couple of things tackled, and then just go home, get a couple of things, on the camera and reset, take a breath, maybe eat some dinner, and then just work until tonight, as long as I need to get to a couple things that are deadlines in the morning. So here I am, finally getting back to chatting with you guys. Yeah, I have missed it. I just wanted to kind of catch up, tell you guys all about the trip, and about the knitting adjacent things on the trip, some acquisitions, some progress that I'm super pumped about. I thought maybe I would have it, if I just waited another day or two, I might have it actually just going, ready to show you guys finally. But I'm not quite there yet. And I just didn't want to wait anymore. I feel like I needed to kind of get a brain dump of this and my Disney solo trip vlog that I want to do one of those when I'm done with this. I'll jump over and do that. But just, some show and tell, some acquisition show and tell, some progress show and tell, and just, chat, say hey. Yeah, so the trip, start with that. It was fabulous. I had a great time. Everybody had a great time. We just saw some absolutely stunning parts of the country. I think my new favorite part of the country, Mount Rainier in Washington. Definitely want to go back there. But we started on August 1st. We left in the morning, about an hour and a half behind schedule, but as it turned out, we didn't have any place to be at any particular time that evening. We just needed to make it to Sierra, South Dakota, to our first Airbnb. So we got there, I think we got there, I don't know, between 6:30 and 7, I think. So And we had stopped about 5 o'clock for gas, and we ended up getting some food there. And so we didn't really need to eat dinner. We just were hanging out at this place I'll talk about in a second. But so Pierre, South Dakota, first stop, and I can't remember how many hours that was. It wasn't the first leg from Madison to Pierre was not crazy long, I don't think. Maybe it was 10 hours. Was it? I think all of the legs from like start to Airbnb to Airbnb to Airbnb were all like between 10 and a half and 11 and a half hours. Although I don't think that first leg to Pierre was. It didn't seem like it. It went by pretty nicely. And then, you know, of course we had 4 of us driving. We just traded off, which was good. So I got a ton of knitting done, which is the best. Even when Emma and I split the drive going from Pullman on Saturday down to Colorado and Colorado through Nebraska home on Wednesday, it still was good because we broke those trips up into like 2.5 to 3 hour segments. So not bad, but still there was one day, and only by happenstance, where we didn't do anything. We just hung out at the house we were staying at in Washington, because I found out, I think Tuesday evening, that I had scheduled everything and all the places we were staying and the arrangements that I made with Tom's son in Colorado based on dropping off for move-in day on Friday. And it wasn't until Saturday. So I was scrambling on Tuesday night to reschedule hotel rooms and try to find a place to stay on Thursday night, because we weren't going to be going to Spokane until Friday. And everything worked out. We unfortunately had one last day with Tom's son Zach and his partner Harry, but we did it, and it was one extra day that I didn't think I was going to have with Will, so that was good. It shortened up the Colorado part a little, you know, by a day, but you know, Tom and I are actually going back out there for a long weekend in October, and so that's cool. But yeah, it was a great trip, other than the fact that we were in the car so much. So that one day, so Tuesday we went to Ruby Beach on the coast in Washington, gorgeous, and but again, like, if it wasn't a 11 and a half hour drive to get from point to point, wherever we were driving to, whether it was when we were in Montana, and the one day that we were there, we went to Glacier National Park, 2 hour drive there, 2.5 hour drive there, 2.5 hour drive back, so 5 hours on the road anyway. And then mainly what we did all day at Glacier was drive from the east side of the park to the west side of the park. So we were still in the car for a great deal of time that day, although we did have a really nice long, fairly strenuous hike for part of it anyway, for about 2 miles. It was uphill, 2 mile trek to Avalanche Lake, which was one of the most gorgeous views the entire time, that you had to hike this trail to get to. It was just, I can't even, undescribably beautiful. Crazy amazing. It's just like every day I feel like it was just like more and more and more gorgeousness. I loved actually driving. We got up super duper early, so I'll start at the beginning. I'll go back and start at the beginning. Got to Pierre, South Dakota Friday night, and my son's girlfriend Anaya knows me. I'm convinced of this now because of this place. She picked this place when we were kind of all like, she was helping shop for where to stay and kind of trying to stay on a budget and stuff. And I said, Pierre would probably be a good place, to be, or South Dakota. So she found this place, happened to be in Pierre, which was, off the beaten path a little bit, but well worth getting into Pierre and going to this place. I can't remember the name of the house. I was going to look it up before this so I could say it, but I can post it in the comments after. It was formerly the governor's mansion. It is 2 years younger than my house now, 1904. Enormous. We had it all to ourselves. It looked to me like there are only 2 rooms in the house that bedrooms to rent, but there's so much space that they'll like give you the run of the place, except for the like the downstairs off, you know, on the first floor there was like a kitchen area that was all their private area. It had a very much more of a actual B&B feel in terms of how their quarters, their areas were, you know, their private areas were kind of closed off. But I mean, we had pretty much 3 floors, right? 3 floors? God, it felt like, yeah, like 3 floors of space to just be in. And as soon as I'm there, and it was actually the owner's mother that was there that night with us. I'm not even sure the owner was there during the night. Her mom was kind of taking care of the place and letting us in and stuff. Like I said, we were the only people staying there. I don't know who, it looks like it's set up so you can like book it for like parties, or like if you had a wedding party that wanted to stay during a wedding, or, you know, even like a girls' weekend bachelorette. I think there seemed like there was something, read something about that, or just like a big birthday weekend. I mean, unless people were sleeping on the couch or like putting up blow-up mattresses or something somewhere, I don't know where else you'd keep more than 4 people to sleep, because there was a surprisingly few numbers of bedrooms that were at least not private. Just the 2. So there must have been other bedrooms somewhere, but maybe they just keep them for the family. I don't know. And I hate that. Like when I go places like that, I cannot stand a closed door. God, I cannot stand a closed door. Like sometimes I get really about it, because I want, what is behind that door? What's back there? How many more rooms are in this house that I can't see, that I need to see? So that kind of drives me bonkers. But I get it. Like you have to have your own spaces. The public can go to. But I walked in and I'm like, I wanted it here, and I wanted it in this room, and I wanted it in the library, and I wanted it up there, and I wanted it here, and I want to spin here, and I want to do. I wish we were there for 2 nights and a full day in between. And I don't care how glorious it would have been outside during the day, on a day that we could stay. I would just be like in that house, taking advantage of being in that space. I mean, it was out. I'm like, we're probably peaking early with this place that we're staying, and we did. It was my favorite place that we stayed the whole time of all the places that we rented. So that was cool. And then, so I know that I mentioned on here that I was originally wanting to go to a spin cycle in Bellingham, right? Anyway, almost up to Vancouver and Washington, which, surprise, was like 2.5 hours from where we were staying, like almost everything else. It doesn't even look, like you look at it, like there's all this water, like the sound is in there, and like, you know, the edge of the like northwestern corner of Washington is all like, there's just water in there. It's like islands, and it's the sound and whatever. And it's like north of Seattle, which is already like northeastern freaking Washington, by like it's almost to Canada. 2 hours away, 2.5, something like that. And like there was nothing up there for the kids, because they wanted to go down to Rainier, they wanted to go to the beach, to the coast, whatever, fine, that's fine. So I had already been vetoed for spin cycle, but I think that I mentioned that Farmer's Daughter Fibers in Montana was only like a half an hour in Great Falls. It's in Great Falls, and it was only like a half an hour, between a half an hour and 40 minutes from the place that we stayed for a couple nights in Montana. I forget the name of the town, Fairfield. So I'm like, well, we're stopping on the way, because they're closed on Sunday, closed on Monday, and they close at 4 on Saturday. And I'm like, there's no way. We have to leave from Pierre. It's like a 10.5 hour drive. Well, I had emailed, and they had said, well, we don't have anybody that can come in on Sunday, which is fine, because we ended up going to Glacier on Sunday. It would not have worked out. But we could have, if they would have been open on Monday, which I didn't think about asking about. We could have just kind of detoured back down and left from that area to go on to Washington on Monday. We could have done that. And I would have had more than a half an hour in the store, which was just, okay, the Farmer's Daughter Fiber store, the brick and mortar, is beautiful. It's so cool. But I could barely describe it to you, and I didn't get pictures, because I was like, I went in there, the kids were kind of doing their own thing, checking stuff out. Almost everything had closed up shop by the time we got to Great Falls. That they stayed open for me until 6, but the woman who was in the store that I had been talking with on over email couldn't stay past 6 o'clock. She had to be someplace. And when I set up the GPS, the maps program with our Airbnb destination from Pierre, it said if we left at 5 o'clock in the morning, which I got the kids to agree to do, and we were in the car, we were on schedule pretty well, right around 5 o'clock, just a couple minutes after, so we were on schedule. Like, you guys can sleep, I'll take the first leg of the trip, but I want to get here. Said we were going to get there like 3:30 in the afternoon because we gained an hour going west. I was like, we're good, we got this. Like, I might not even need them to stay later. But that was really day 2 of the drive, and it was the day where it really became clear that when we got in the car at the beginning of the day and plugged any destination in, particularly if it was like a point to point, not necessarily like if we were going to a glacier or going to Mount Rainier, you'd add 2 hours to that time period. So I'm like, well, it says 3:30. If we like don't take long, trips to the bathroom. The other thing too is that like speed limit around there in that neck of the woods, like 80 miles an hour. It's no longer like no speed limit, but it's 80 miles an hour. And since I've been back, I have heard that the cops will stop you if you're going over 80 miles an hour. Like here, easy, if you're a 70 or 75 mile an hour, 70, let's say most places like Wisconsin is 70 miles per hour is the highest. If you're going 77, that's the sweet spot. And over that, they're probably going to stop you unless they're, trying to reach quota at the end of the month and they're going to stop you. But if you're going 87, apparently, if you're going 82 or 83 in Montana or whatever, they'll stop you and be like, 80's fast enough. So good thing we were like in low traffic most of the time. But if you're going 80 miles an hour and cruising for hundreds of miles, as it turns out, you will burn through a half a tank of gas in about 2.5 hours. So pretty much every time we stopped to switch drivers, every 2.5 to 3 hours, we were stopping at a gas station and filling up half the tank. In Washington, gas prices are, they're jacked. So, man, bought a lot of gas and spent a lot of money doing it on that trip. So that's another thing, but I wasn't too surprised, but I wasn't really thinking, or that was like the first time that it really hit home because it was such a long drive and we had to stop so many times that, yeah, there's like a fuel efficient speed to go. And there's beyond that, it's not as fuel efficient. So, because my Ford Edge is pretty fuel efficient. It's not a hybrid, but it's kind of it's got EcoBoost. So like when you're idling at a stoplight or something, it'll shut down. It'll sound like it shuts down. And then when you bump the pedal again, it comes back on again. Feels a little like a golf cart, but yeah, it usually has pretty good gas mileage, but not when you're going 80 miles an hour on cruise for whatever. And we were just like out in the middle of nowhere in South Dakota where it was also, I think, 80 miles an hour. And especially for the first few hours, we barely saw another vehicle. And we were just out on a 2-lane highway in the middle of pastures in either direction, and just these beautiful, oh my God, South Dakota was so gorgeous. And it's just first day and it's just South Dakota. We ain't seen nothing yet, but I was like, the kids are all sleeping in the back and I'm like, you guys are missing this beautiful state. Like, this is beautiful. But yeah, I could just cruise on 85 for hundreds of miles. And like out west, you can go hundreds of miles and not see a town or a gas station. So I didn't want to get below a half tank of gas most places. So I wasn't pushing it. So yeah, we were filling about every half tank or so. Barely less than that though, because yeah, I'm like, I don't know when we're gonna end up with one of those like 300-mile stretches where there's nothing, and now we're down at fumes. I did not want that to happen. So that was interesting. We ended up going on this route between Pierre and Great Falls, right through Sturgis, and I mean Sturgis, because it's August. never really intended or wanted to ever get anywhere nearly that close to Sturgis. And I went through it in the middle of it. And it was early in the day. It was like probably before noon. So, you know, we didn't see any debauchery, but the kids were like, what's Sturgis? I'm like, well, I've heard some things. Yeah, so whatever, no judgment, but that is not my lifestyle. But it was impressive though. I mean, it was like, wow, this, you can tell that this is like the big one. And yeah, it went on for quite a while, and I was really pleased to get onto the other side of it. But yeah, still, that whole area is just, it's still beautiful. And then, so by the time we got to Great Falls, we stopped for lunch at like a Wendy's. And for some reason, we were in that drive-through line for like 40 minutes. And we were at the window, I think, for like 15 of that. I don't know why. And so that set us way back. By the time we had our food, and I think Will was driving, and so he wanted to eat and not have to drive. So then we sat and ate. So that like jumped our timeline up until at least 4:30, 5 o'clock by that point, because we'd already stopped a few times. And so I'm like, all right, 5 o'clock, that's still fine. That gives me an hour. Well, then we hit weather, I think, or something. So by the time we got to Great Falls, it was like 5:30. I parked the car, and I like hoof it down to the shop. And she was like, hey, you know, I'm like, oh my God, thanks for staying. But she's like, totally okay. I have to be out of here by 6. And it was like, you know, 5:32 by this point. I'm like, oh. And I had been looking ridiculously. I think I mentioned this in the last episode, but I can't remember if I did or not. When I was showing the yarn that I had gotten for Ooey Gooey, that I was shopping for another Ooey Gooey project because I'm ridiculous. But it's super cute, and I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say, people. So I went in there with an idea, and then I ended up coming out with a whole other idea, because I realized that the idea I had where it was good was similar-ish to what I got for the first one. So that's like that lightish sort of mauve main color. And then I was going to go with like, they have I think it's a colorway that they only have in the shop. It's called something that starts with an A. I don't know. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a really pretty deep purple. And then I was going to go with, I forget which spin cycle. And it wasn't bad, but I was like, and my other one's in the purple family, so maybe I should do something different. And they had some Ghost Ranch there. They also, I think it was going to do Goldie with it or something, because I can never get a hold of Goldie, and I actually really like it. And I liked it. I liked that combo, but I was like, this Ghost Ranch is amazing, and I love Ghost Ranch. It's a really cool colorway, and like, I feel like almost no matter how many, you know, different ways the skein can look based on what, you know, what ends up in it, it's cool. And so I ended up going with a color called Sunnies, which is like a mustardy yellow, which is really not usually my jam. I think I've said on here, I don't like yellow. I don't mind like a mustard or like an earthy kind of a yellow, but I don't like bright sunny yellow unless it's a color pop. And I put it together with, like, I got I think whatever it is, 2 skeins of Ghost Ranch that are going to be, with it, it's going to be awesome. So I'm excited for that. But it took the entire time just to pick that out. And I was like, oh, damn it. And I kept looking, and I like looking at other stuff, and I'm like, well, I didn't want to make a snap decision on some like significant quantity of yarn, either Farmer's Daughter fiber yarn or spin cycle yarn, but I was like, it's probably better that I just got pushed to, you know, to get this one project of yarn, because I was like, look at all the it's the Odang DK. Look at all of this, look at all of that. I easily could have spent all of the gas money that day if I'd had more time. So I'm glad I didn't. But I mean, I also couldn't look at like all the other non-yarn stuff that they had that I really wanted to look at. I picked up a couple stickers. I was just like, this is torture that I can't be here longer than a half an hour. And when we got in the car, it said 3:30 in the afternoon. Ugh. So anyway, that was part of my journey. I have that as show and tell. I'll show you that in a little bit. Yeah, I'm sitting here talking about, okay, first of all, Michelle, I'm sitting here talking about the colors, like I can't show you the colors. Doubled up. Okay. Sunnies. That's like an earthy mustardy color. It's not like bright in your face yellow. I can do that. Look at this. Oh my, I am wrong. I did not get Ghost Ranch. I got Shades of Earth, which is amazing. Maybe it was Ghost Ranch I was going to put with the other color. Look at that. Look at that son of a gun. Heck yeah. God, oh, I just can't even. I just can't even. I wanted to work with Shades of Earth, and I feel like they're always out of it on the spin cycle. Look at that. God dang it. Who? Isn't it like it's like Svengali. Yes, it's horrible. Like I can't, I have no resistance. No resistance whatsoever. But that was my Farmer's Daughter fiber find. Yeah, so then Montana, Glacier National Park was fantastic. I'm excited to make a Glacier National Park Nancy Bates hat now. Okay, the kids have their Washington hats with the little Sasquatch. And if you're also following on Instagram, didn't I post it on Instagram or did I stupidly post it on my personal Instagram, put it on my story? I'll check, because if I did not post it on Instagram, the Stashdown PC Instagram, I'll just do it again, and just in case anybody didn't see it, because he turned out so freaking cute. And I did the technique where you knit it with no more than 2 colors at a time, and then you duplicate stitch all of the trees, where there would have been like a third color to do color work with, which I generally like that. I've not done anything like that before, but I had to look up how to duplicate stitch, actually. And I tell you what, it took me like a day-ish to do the hat and like a day-ish to do the duplicate stitch of all the trees. And then like an hour and a half to do the Sasquatch, because it's just like, basically she just sort of like throws it. You can add a Sasquatch if you want. Here's a picture of the Sasquatch. Duplicate stitch the Sasquatch if you like. Like, are there directions here? There are not. You have to just figure out where to put the body and the legs and the little feet on the legs, and then like, you know, and you're doing that just on a bunch of the V's, of course, on the pattern, on the you know, stockinette fabric, and you thinking you might, you know, the leg needs to go this way and then the other leg needs to go that way, a little bit different angle, because it's like the walking Bigfoot guy, and you put your stitch in and it's like, you know, the leg's going in a weird direction or whatever. And then a French knot, like what in the heck? I'm like looking at a couple different videos, and there was like, I was like, I can't see your whole operation here. So my daughter had to show me how to do a French knot, because she's a cross stitcher. Well, as you know, maybe if you've watched that episode already, she's a cross stitcher. So she kind of helped me out. And then I was like, yeah, duh. But yeah, just figuring out where to put those stitches. And so I'm like, somebody on YouTube must have filmed doing a Sasquatch duplicate stitch on this hat. No. Somebody please do that. It's not me, just because I've done a couple of them now. Like if I try to do another one, I'm going to do 2 more, because I'm going to make one for Emma and one for me. It's going to take, I know that I've got 2.5 to 3 hours to look forward to for just Sasquatches. But they're so cute. You have to have the Sasquatch on there. So I did get some mini skeins from Farmer's Daughter Fibers to do the Sasquatches in like in earthy colors, and I let the kids pick what they wanted. So cute, super, super cute. And there's like, I took a reference picture as we were pulling into Washington, You can see the mountains and the clouds above the mountains. I'm like, she nailed this hat pattern with the mountains and the clouds in Washington. Oh my gosh, like nailed it. Perfect. Unfortunately, we did not see Bigfoot in real life. Lots of stickers and t-shirts and things like that depicting Bigfoot in various ways, but no real Bigfoot, unfortunately, on any of the hikes that we went on. But yeah, fantastic. Glacier was beautiful. Oh, Glacier, we're back in Montana. Now we're in Washington. Ruby Beach we went to, and it was very cloudy. You know, the kids are going, we're going to the beach. And I'm like, shorts. Luckily, I brought my hoodie, shorts, and a short sleeve t-shirt. It's August. Yeah, but it's the Pacific Northwest on the ocean, so on a cloudy day. Not warm. Not freezing, but I had, you know, with the hoodie and everything, I was fine, but yeah, it was a little on the chilly side. But gorgeous, again. Beautiful rock formations, like right at the beach or right out in the water, and then just like the whole thing was amazing. It's not the Great Lakes, folks. No, super beautiful. And just the drive there and the drive back, thankfully, because it was about 5 hours altogether, also very gorgeous. Made the fact that we had to be in the car and driving for that amount of time every single day, like not a problem while we were doing it really, but just like as the week went on, I was just like, oh, I have to be in the car again. It's going to take. So we actually drove for a longer period of time when we went to Ruby Beach than we were at the beach, which was frustrating. Of course, we drove through Forks, and of course, Anaya is a huge Twilight fan, and so she'd been there before, and there were a couple places where I would have liked to stop, and we were going to go back the way we came, but we ended up doing the circle for reasons I won't get into, but I would love to go back to Forks, just do a couple of the shops, because I feel like we had some fun stuff there. Probably a lot of Bigfoot paraphernalia too. Definitely Twilight paraphernalia. And then got home, figured out we had an extra day, and I was like, oh, then we're just gonna hang at the house tomorrow and sleep in and do nothing. And we were all like, yeah, okay, that's cool, good deal. And I thought for like 5 minutes about maybe just driving up to Spin Cycle. And I was like, I can't be in the car for that long again. Because this is the only day where we're not going to be in the car for that long for the rest of the next week, except for the day that we went to Stanley when we were in Colorado, Emma and I, which I'll get to. So yeah, I could have, but that was how weary I was of being in the car and driving. Totally would have. But I'm like, do I want to drive 4.5 hours, 5 hours to go spend what I know is going to be a dumb amount of money on yarn I don't need? That's how much that the ride had taken its toll on me by that point. So yeah, we chilled. The next day we went to Mount Rainier. I left a piece of my heart in Mount Rainier, man. And it wasn't a clear day. And the teens were bummed about that because of the clouds never burned off by the afternoon. But Emma and I were like, damn, this is gorgeous. It's like mythical. It's magical in the clouds. It was just, oh my God, it was beautiful. It was beautiful even if we couldn't see the top of the mountain. It was cool just to know that it was up there and we couldn't see it, but it was there. The presence of the mountain was felt. And there were some very Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring moments on that hike. But we made it. I really kept thinking, if these mountains come alive and start hitting each other, I'm gonna duck and cover. But we didn't fall off the cliff, and we made it, and it was great. And got those, like, pictures are beautiful, but they just don't do it justice. I would go back to Mount Rainier in a heartbeat. And, you know, if it's clear, it's clear. If it's not, it would still be great. It was like we did a 6-mile hike, and we got up to an elevation of like 6,800 feet. Like we started at like 3 and a half or 4,000 something. So quite the hike. We were all quite exhausted by the end of it. My whole entire lower body was like, woman, sit down. I don't care if it's in the car. Just sit down. Give me a break. And then we had to move that night. That was Thursday. We had to go to Olympia to stay that night because we had the snafu with when drop-off was, and the Airbnb, unfortunately, where we were staying did not have room that Thursday night to let us stay because it was a really nice place. Probably, hands down, the most well-appointed Airbnb, VRBO, whatever that I've ever stayed at. Like, the pots and pans, the dishes, the glasses, the utensils, the whatever, like, really nice. I was like, dang, these are like as nice as my stuff at home. Wow. And it's just the sweetest, most down-to-earth, like, hipster couple that owned it. They were so cool. But anyway, they didn't have space for us, sadly, so we had to move, and we were in just a place that was nice for the night in Olympia. And I was like, guys, I found one, decent price, and it's only an hour and a half from Mount Rainier. So we got a 2.5 hour drive in the morning. We had to leave at like 4 o'clock in the morning. That was the other thing. Like, it wasn't just 5 hours total of driving any place we had to go. We had to leave at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning every time because we had to be there like by 7 or no later than 8 o'clock to be able to like have a reasonable chance of getting a parking space, because we always had to drive to like a far ass end of the park from where we were, because we never picked a place where we were on the side of the park where we didn't have to have a timed entry ticket, which sold out like months before we were there. I'm really glad people are going to the parks, to the national parks. That's fantastic. I just wish I would have known some of this stuff beforehand. I have no idea. I've never been out west. I haven't been to the big parks out there. I don't know this. And the teens that did all the research didn't know either until we were there, basically. But we got to see what we wanted to see, and it was great. And we did get to see Mount Rainier, like from Olympia and from going into Seattle, just like floating above the clouds, like this mythical being. It was, I'm in awe of Mount Rainier. I do have a picture of it in the distance. It just looks like, it's like the moons in Star Wars, like where there's like multiple moons, and you're just like, oh my God, that would be so cool. It's kind of like, it's kind of on the order where you're like, is that floating in the sky? Is that in space? Is that a mountain? It's Space Mountain. Space Mountain's real. I'm still like so in awe of the things that we did see. But anyway, yeah, we get in the car after a 6-hour hike, super crazy elevation for those of us who are like at sea level all the time in Wisconsin. But like totally enjoyable. I mean, otherwise it was like, couldn't be happier. Fantastic. Just completely exhausted physically. Get in the car, plug in the address for the place we're going to stay at that night. 2.5 hours. It's like, when I booked this, it said an hour and a half from Mount Rainier. But then we were on the opposite side of Mount Rainier. I mean, by that point, one extra hour in the car was like, I don't know if any of you have taken a trip like that, but it wasn't the company. It wasn't that anybody was acting out. It wasn't that anything like that was going on. It wasn't like there was teen drama or anything at all. It was just being crammed packed in that car and having to be in that car and having to be on the road for that long. Like every trip, we had to switch drivers at least once, every single day where we went someplace. Like it was a long enough drive that we had to switch drivers. Crazy. But would do it again in a heartbeat right now. I mean, it was a great trip. We had a lot of fun. And by that point I was like, let's do this every summer when we have to bring you out here, because we'll go here, and this time we'll take this, we'll go down through Utah, down through Colorado and up Utah and around up through Portland and up. And we'll see Mount Rainier again and all that stuff. So and we'll take 2 weeks and we'll get there. And like, I was like ready to like, it'll be longer, but it'll be better. We'll see something new every time. That's how jazzed I was just to see all that stuff. And now there's just like so much out there that I want to see. Geez, and then when Emma and I, Seattle on Friday, and Mount Rainier from the distance, great, everything. Seattle's a really cool city. Never been there before. Super, super cool city. Didn't see a whole lot of it, but the vibe was cool when we were there. And there's like a cafe. You can throw a rock and hit a cafe. And the coffee in Washington, anywhere we went. I was so impressed with the fact there was like, again, you could throw a rock and hit a little like tiny coffee shop in a parking lot, like drive up kind of place. They were everywhere. And we never made it to one. We never made it to one, but the gas station coffee in Washington is good, like solid good. But of course, I had to go to the mothership in Seattle. We went to the Starbucks headquarters. Had a very expensive brunch and coffee, drinks, and just sort of did the Starbucks thing. I wanted to go to the original one at Pike Place, but apparently there isn't much. You can't like hang out in there, and there's a line a mile long outside. So I was fine to go to headquarters. That was okay. But Pike Place is super duper cool. And Pike Place has a little shop in there that is Yarn Dragon. And I do follow Yarn Dragon on Instagram. And I knew that I was going to be able to try to find his little shop in Pike Place. Did not realize that it was only like a 10-minute jaunt to the brick and mortar until we were pretty much out of time because we had to get back on the road for 4.5 hours to Spokane, and we wanted to be there, before it was the middle of the night again. So yeah, I didn't drive. I should have though, thinking back, I should have been like, I only got a half an hour in Farmer's Daughter Fibers and you vetoed spin cycles, so we're taking 10 minutes. Because from there we went to this, sorry kids, if you watch this at any point, but they wanted, there's this cat bookstore that we can go to. It was a used bookstore, which I'm all about. Like 90% of the time I'm shopping at half price books here. If I'm looking for books at all, or, when I've sold books there and all the things. I love used bookstores. I love bookstores in general. Cool, whatever. We can take this little side trip to see this little used bookstore that has cats. I think I saw 3 cats. I think there's at least 6 that live there. I think I saw 3. One of them was hiding in a cat tree. The other 2 were like walking away from me into like the little door with the opening that goes into a room where their cat box was. And the whole thing smelled really weird. Like weird. Like probably catty, but weird catty. Like, what are you feeding these cats? I ended up picking up a few scripts that I'm kind of into, just like checking out scripts. Like picked up a couple that I was interested in reading that they happen to have. But other than that, I wasn't really looking for used books. And looking back, that's the only thing where I would have been like, we are going to the Yarn Dragon brick and mortar now because it is a lot closer than I thought. And my Farmer's Daughter Fiber experience was lacking in at least a half an hour. And you vetoed my spin cycle trip. So we're going to Yarn Dragon because it's right up the street. But I did go to the little place in Pike Place. And I bought something. Got a couple cute little things. I've been wanting some like the little, I've seen them, somebody has been making them and selling them. I've seen them at the Sowsier, seen them in different places. Just like the little hank of yarn, wood cut earrings. I don't wear earrings a lot because no matter what, I just tend to get like, they bother my like ear holes that I've had since I was like 13 or whatever. Excuse me. So I got some of those. What else did I get? I got some cute Bigfoot stitch markers I forgot to bring up. It seems like seems like there was another little notion-y type thing. But what I got was their baby camel silk base. And they didn't have a lot of colorways. What's happening here? Where's my, there. They didn't have a lot of colorways available in that base. And the other ones were all like kind of a like pale, sort of not what I would have gone with. But I'm like, okay, I don't need this yarn. I didn't need, you know, I wasn't going to buy any yarn, but I'm like, baby camel and silk? Fairly reasonably priced for baby camel. I'm in. And they had, again, the ball band must be in here somewhere, but, I got 2 skeins. It's rainbow. It's one of those things where I wish I could just like remember every time I see the way a hank kind of is the color distribution in a hank and go, it's gonna look like this, or it's gonna look like a gradient or whatever. So when she gave them to me caked up, I was like, well, I know all the colors are in there, but I mean, yeah, it's beautiful. And oh my God, it makes the softest fabric. So I just started like a drifter, which I know has more than one color, but I don't care. It's gonna be cool. It's a drifter. Look at how pretty that is. I don't even care. I'm just doing it because I'm gonna wrap this thing around me and it's just gonna be like, oh, a baby bunny. A rainbow baby bunny, baby camel. I mean, I don't know what baby camel feels like to pet it. Apparently really soft. I don't know. I don't know if the adult, I mean, I have camel fiber, but I don't know if all camel fiber is baby camel or if the adults are this soft, but dang. Apparently camels are not the kind of animal you want to get up real close to anyway. You know, because it's spitting and the kicking. I mean, you can ride them, I guess, but anyway, enough about camels. I wish I had feel-o-vision. It's so soft. So yeah, I did buy a little yarn when I was out there. But did I say that I finished those 2 hats? Yes, I did. After I got the 2 hats finished, it's funny because the first one I finished, like as we're crossing the border into Washington, I finished Anaya's hat with the Sasquatch on it. And as we were pulling into Pullman, I finished the Sasquatch on the hat that I finished for Will. So I was very proud of myself for getting 2 done, and I was gonna push through all 4 on the trip, but by the time I finished Will's hat, and it was like the majority of the way through the trip, I needed a palette cleanser. I'm like, I need to work on some other stuff that I brought. And I did not work on my Stashdown along project, but I have an update on that one. I did take it, but I didn't work on it. I did cake up all of my spin cycle to start my night shift shawl, and I did start that, so I have that to show you guys. What else? I did work on my little rainbow tee a little bit, but not much. And I did spin a couple of times. I spun at that very first place in Pierre, and I spun at the Stanley, which was cool. So I haven't gotten to that part of the trip yet. But what else did I work on in the car? I feel like I worked on something else. Anyway, I got to the 6th color in my night shift shawl, and it's a personal controversy, this color, because they had this kit on the site and spin cycle called Wishbone, the Wishbone kit, for the longest time. And by the time I even went on there and saw that kit for the first time, and like I said, I don't need any more yarn for projects for the night shift shawl because I have one that I made with my hand spun. I have yarn that started on a night shift shawl that's Malbrigo, and I might even have another. I think that's it. I might have another older one. I can't remember. I might have 2 more night shift projects in the closet. I know I have 1. Anywho, I don't know, there was something about this Wishbone kit. I'm like, oh, these colors, yeah. It had always been coming soon, sold out and coming soon. And I was trying to remember the colors. I don't think I wrote them down, but I was trying to remember the different colorways that, you know, and there was at least 1 or 2 colorways that were sold out too. So I couldn't even like put it together for the longest time. And it's the Dream State base. So the worsted base, is that worsted or DK? Anyway, there was a point where they had, I think, all the colors like separately, but they still didn't have the kit in stock. But I couldn't remember like the 6th color. So I sent a DM on Instagram and they told me it's these colors. And the last one was called Stay Ready, which is like a black, white, and gray barber pole. I'd used it in the bulky to make a hat for Tom. And I was like, really? Black and white? Okay, I don't remember that, but okay, I trust. And I was like, well, I want to put the wishbone kit together, but that's the only one that you don't have is the Stay Ready. Oh, well, we have like a few skeins actually at the brick and mortar. Here they are. Which one do you want? I said that one. And they sent me the 6 skeins, and they've been sitting here. And so I caked them up the night before we left, and I took them, and at the Stanley, I started the project. And then that was kind of the main project that I worked on for the rest of the road trip down into Colorado and home. And I got to that 6th color, Stay Ready, because for some, I picked out the colors, and that ended up being number 6. And so when you get to color A plus color F, it's like the colors are, that's what I love about Spin Cycle. You can put them together and in something like, I'm really good at picking out colors for projects, I feel. But when it comes to the Spin Cycle stuff, if I had to put 6 together of my own for a night shift, I think I would have a hard time. I don't know. Maybe I have to just like talk to somebody who can like go, this is the mindset that I had putting this together, or like really kind of like spend a couple hours like studying the kits that are already put together and go, I see what they do here for this. Like to put it, or whatever. A 3-color shift cowl, maybe, probably, no problem. But get 6 of them together, and I don't know. I think I'd be like, I'd either make them too matchy, same, which they're really not supposed to be for the night shift. That's the cool thing about it, is that when you have stuff that's just kind of like, I don't know that I would put these 2 together, but then when I put them all together in 6, and then you put them together, and then the colors all change. You don't know, and they, that's the beauty of the Spin Cycle. So some of them, as they're coming off off the balls, I'm like, are these gonna go together? And so I just leaned into it, and I got through like the first 4 or 5 colors, and I'm like, yeah. By the time I got into the first like 3 colors, into 3 and 4, I'm like, oh, I like how this is turning out. And then I hit that 6th color, that's black, white, and gray, and it's like, I don't think this was right. I don't remember this colorway being in this original kit, because by the time I went back to say, okay, I'm going to try to get it, like order the individual skeins, I did not say this, the kit wasn't on the site anymore. And so I'm like, now I got to figure out what this was. So I think I just reached out and was like, look, I want to see if I can put the wishbone kit together. I don't even have it on the site anymore to see what the colors are. Can you tell me? That's what it was. So when she said Stay Ready, I was like, I really don't remember it being black and white. Well, now that the kit is back, and it does not have Stay Ready, it has House Blend, which is that coffee color one that I went crazy over, that got me going on the path of Spin Cycle last year. I'm like, well, that makes a lot more sense. And I got through like the first couple sections where I had to use that colorway. And I'm like, nah. So I go back on the site. House Blend is sold out in Dream State. But I thought, but it was the same thing when I got the Stay Ready. And I sent a DM, and they were like, oh, we have like 4 or 5 skeins in shop right now. And that's what they did. So I was like, I'll take that one. And that should be here any day now. It might be here tomorrow. So I am going to take that back, hang on to that black and white stuff for some other thing, and put that House Blend in there. And I think it's going to be back on track. It's going to be gorgeous. I love that. I recently saw the first project on Instagram, and it was either a shift cowl. I think it was a shift cowl. The first and only one where I was like, ooh, that doesn't do it for me. And I mean, I've seen somewhere I'm like, I wouldn't use those colors because those are not my colors. Like maybe they're either too like neon or whatever. So I wouldn't do that, but I can look at that and go, damn, that's gorgeous. And then you do you with those colors, and I'm going to do these colors. But wow. So, yeah, I mean, I shouldn't say that I can't put a night shift together, because I have with Malabrigo. It's just when you have those color shifting yarns, you don't know. It's hard to say what they're going to do and when they're going to do it. And yeah, but they, like I said, there's a reason why I said that the Shift series is my Desert Island project, and Spin Cycle wouldn't be my Desert Island yarn, I think, for that, because of that. Despite fiber optics being like a close second. and I love fiber optics, and I've said that, but it's that, you know, if I'm doing the night shift, if I'm doing the shift series, that's the only thing I'm doing on a desert island. It's got to be spin cycle. Yeah. So, but yeah, I did see that project, and I was like, and I don't know what it was about it. It just seemed like the yarns they chose looked like, I don't know if they were Marley or what was going on, but they kind of, it just wasn't real crisp, and the colors were kind of all, it was sort of a tonal, I feel like, I don't know. It was just like the only time I've ever seen a shift project of any kind had been like, oh, okay, no, that's not one I can go, oh wow, that's really cool. Sorry, I'm not even gonna say what colors it was or anything like that, because I don't want anybody feeling bad if it's your project. Probably not though, because 99.99999 times out of 10, I don't care what colors it is, it's gonna impress me, because that's just great. Enough about that, Michelle. So we dropped off Spokane and this place to stay overnight. Went down to Pullman. It's a beautiful area, beautiful area, and the campus is really pretty, just a really gorgeous campus, and I'm really happy for the kids. I hope they do well there. I hope he can manage to continue to do that. Really excited for him, and it was just a great experience. Moving in was a really great experience, and saw them off, got emotional, got on the road, and then it was me and Emma for the last part of the trip. We stayed in Butte, Montana, and between Pullman and Butte, just more gorgeous countryside and mountains, and there's a reason they call that area Big Sky Country. It just is crazy amazing. Stayed overnight in Butte. Got up the next morning, slept in, because we didn't have to be, we slept in a little. We didn't sleep in super late, I don't think. We slept in late at the Stanley, and we slept in late in Nebraska coming back, because we didn't have any place to be at any particular time. But we wanted to get down and see Zach for as long as we could. We didn't want to get there real late, so we didn't sleep in too much. But we weren't up at like 4 o'clock in the morning or anything crazy like that, because all we had to do was just like get in the car and go. But again, man, the trip from Butte to Denver was stunning. And I started going, you know what? By the time we got into Denver, and then the next day when we went into Estes Park, and then the next day when we left Estes Park and we were driving through like just the outskirts of the, of Rocky Mountain National Park, I'm like, you kids can keep your Pacific Northwest. It's beautiful. They're a beautiful place. Mount Rainier has my heart. Colorado, the Rocky Mountain area, that's my jam right there. The rivers, just, oh my God. I would move there. I was like, Emma, so do you think Carter would be okay? You just want to maybe like find jobs out here, and then I'll just try to find a job out here. I know I could get Tom to move out here. You know, I just moved into my dream house, but I don't know. This would be pretty cool. I could live in Colorado. I couldn't live in Washington. It's too expensive. I could visit there. I'd be closer to Will if he wants to live out there, which he says he does. I'd be in Colorado. You can keep Washington. Love it. Love it. Want to go back to Seattle. Want to go back to Mount Rainier. Want to go visit him in Pullman. Want to get up to Spin Cycle. But those would be trips. Like Colorado, there's just something about the vibe there. I love it. It's really great. Anyway, we stayed at the Stanley. We're almost an hour in, and I haven't even shown you all my stuff yet, so we're going over an hour tonight. But it was number 3 at this point on my paranormal bucket list that I haven't been to yet. So I crossed it off my list. I'd already, when you book it, you pay for it, which is interesting. I'm sure if you had to cancel, I think you get it back. All of it, hopefully. But it already had come out when I paid for the room, which I'd already spent a silly amount of money on the room. I'm like, well, here we are. This is our deluxe accommodation at Disney World for one night. And it was beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It was smaller than I thought it was going to be, because in my mind, I'm walking into the lobby of the Overlook Hotel, which I know that the movie was not filmed there. I knew that before. I obviously still know that. the lame TV show that apparently, sorry Stephen, but did get Stephen King's approval and his input, and he was in it and all that, which I watched it at the time because I'm a Shining fan, was lame, and it's still lame. Don't even get me on that tangent. But that was filmed at the Stanley. Nothing about the Stanley was in the film. Nothing. Although we did find out that the road that we took through Glacier is where they took the scenes with them driving to the Overlook in the movie. I was like, we were just there. Emma was like, I knew I recognized that drive from somewhere. I'm like, well, it also looked like driving anywhere in Washington, or in Montana, or in some places in Montana or in Colorado for that matter. But yeah, where am I going with this? Oh, it's beautiful. The lobby is beautiful. It's very Victorian. It's very beautiful. The ballroom and the other rooms to the left and right of the lobby are not accessible unless you're on a tour. One part of one of those areas on the right hand side of the lobby is a wine bar that's only open like 2 p.m. till 9 at night, and they roll that carpet up at like 8:55, boys. So they do have cool tours. We did the Shining tour and we did the night tour. I actually like the Shining tour better, and we booked that second. So I booked the night tour, and then Emma was like, I kind of like to take the Shining tour, and read a little bit more about it. And I thought it was gonna be too theatrical, but it really wasn't. It was just it was cool. And we got to see stuff on the property that we didn't get to see on the night tour that I'm glad we saw, that were really cool. But those are the only ways to see 2 of the big rooms off of the lobby. Like, they're not open to the public to just go in, or they're not like utilized as anything. There's a restaurant and bar that was nice, but like so exorbitantly overpriced. Like, we ended up, I'm like, let's get the meatloaf. It was like big game meatloaf. It was delicious. But it was like $35, I think, or $35 a piece for a piece of meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and broccolini, and water. Because we already had a cocktail earlier in the day, and we were about to take a tour, so we didn't want to be like, oh, on the tour. But yeah. I spent $100 on 2 plates of meatloaf with the tax and the tip and everything. That was the cheapest thing on the menu. I think the steak started at like $100 or something insane. But I got called the morning that we were heading there, when we were at Zach's house. I got a call from the Stanley, and they're like, we see that you were interested in room 219. And for some reason, I don't even know why, I had found that 219 was one of the rooms that was supposed to be like one of the big haunted rooms. Like 218, 217, 219, I think, were the rooms that were supposed to be like big activity. So I thought I had read when I booked it, and I'd asked for 218 or 219. I think 217, 217's at the end of the hall, and then 219 where we were, and 218 I think was across from us. 217 at the end of the hall was the Stephen King suite. So we were right next door to the Stephen King suite. Pretty sure all the ghosts were there the whole time, because they were not in our room. But when they called, they said 219 has become available. Do you want it? And I was like, I knew how much I'd already spent on the room. And it was like another $169 just added on to what I'd already spent. I'm not going to give you the total because it's obscene for one night. But I went for it. I'm like, this might be the only time I stay at the Stanley Hotel, and this is a special trip. Just gonna do it. And then I was pretty sure, and I checked, and I was sure that the original. At that point, I was like happy that they'd already taken the money out for the first part, because I'm like, oh my god, I did not bring my credit card. Like, ugh. So that pretty much was what I was gonna, at least partly, and probably would have turned out to be like a nice dinner. So that's why we like ate as cheap as we could. It still wasn't cheap, especially for meatloaf, but it was awesome. Like, the food was really, really good. No complaints. And they did make a really good bourbon old fashioned. It was totally different from a Wisconsin brandy old fashioned sweet, because it wasn't really that sweet, but it was a little sweet. Like, it had a little simple syrup in it, but no Sprite or whatever, so it wasn't fizzy, but it was delicious. And whatever the bourbon was that was in it was like, oh, this is so good. And I was like, yeah, this is different. Pretty much mostly alcohol, but they were really good and generous pours. And so we had a really nice time. We mainly just kind of hung out, knit and cross stitch. Then we went on the 2 tours. Then we stayed up as late as we could, trying to cross stitch and knit and stuff. We were out on the front porch for a while. But it was very tourist, like so many tourists that weren't hotel guests. It was cool because the staircase that goes up to the rooms had this sign at the base of it that said that basically you couldn't go past that unless you were a hotel guest. So it's like, well, that's me. But there was so many people milling around and downstairs where the tour started, and just, it didn't feel like I was spending hundreds of dollars to stay at the hotel for a night kind of a place. And I wasn't impressed with, I didn't feel like the room was that well appointed for the price. And obviously they can't guarantee you're going to have a paranormal experience in your room, but you take your chances, right? I think the ghosts are smarter than that. They're like, I'd be here, but your dumbass just spent way too much money on this room. I'm gonna be over here. So, enormously long story long. There was a bathroom that was like a 1-seater off the main lobby, kind of behind the main staircase that went upstairs, that had the staircase that went downstairs to where the tours were. There was a cafe and stuff down there. There was one bathroom that was a unisex 1-seater bathroom off the main lobby. You know, nice door and everything. It's in a nice like vestibule area. I didn't go in there till the second day. Turns out we went downstairs to the lobby area where they had like where the tours would start and all of that. And there were 2 like just multi restrooms, men's room, women's room down there. Because there was somebody using the bathroom. We had to use the bathroom. She was like guarding it with her life, waiting for the person to get out of the bathroom. So anyway, we went downstairs and there's bathrooms down here. So we went in and used the bathrooms there. Not impressed. First of all, not only, as it turns out, I did not know this, that the Shining ABC TV miniseries Lame Ass thing was filmed at the Stanley, which is fine. I mean, it's The Shining, and Stephen King was there, and whatever. But also Dumb and Dumber was filmed there. So they make like a semi-minor deal, only because it's, everybody goes there for The Shining. I don't think a lot of people maybe far more people know about The Shining, as it relates to the Stanley than probably Dumb and Dumber. But, yeah, the women's restroom down there was decorated with like posters and signed things from Dumb and Dumber, and I'm like, whatever. Like I like Jim Carrey, but Dumb and Dumber is dumb. And so it wasn't a particularly spectacular bathroom. It was okay, but then when I went to wash my hands, apparently either somebody was too lazy or it was broken. But the hand towel dispenser, no hand towels in it. Somebody just plopped a roll of just like, brown hand towel roll on the counter, which was just covered with water because nobody cleans up after themselves. And then the trash can on the way out was just like mounded with paper towel. And I'm thinking, again, I know this is like the public restroom area down here, but I'm spending hundreds of dollars in this hotel to stay. I think the bathrooms could be better well attended. Then I went to the bathroom. I used the bathroom just to wash my hands right after we got all of our stuff in the car the next day to leave, because we, handled the luggage cart, and I just felt like I needed to just wash my hands. And it was vacant, but it smelled like someone had just been in there dropping the kids off at the pool. And first of all, and second of all, same thing. Hand towel dispenser is either not working and nobody's fixed it, or they're too lazy to put this roll of paper towel, like industrial brown paper towel, on the counter, and it's a mess. Like, again, like not even the nice single bathroom off the lobby was attended to. So that was just kind of like it just kind of made me feel like you can tell how nice and well cared for and how much they care about guests when the bathroom areas are cleaned and attended to. Especially since that was a unisex bathroom. Also, you gotta be some kind of monster to take a poo in a public restroom like that. I'm sorry. I mean, I know you gotta go when you gotta go sometimes, but dang, it's disgusting. And I'm like, don't let anybody be out there waiting to get in here, because I just popped in here to wash my hands, and I don't want anybody to think that was me. I mean, that's what it was like. Ugh. Anyway, we are at 1 hour and 10 minutes. Oh my goodness. Anyway, and then we drove through Nebraska and came home, which was not a big deal, because Nebraska, again, is just kind of, sorry anybody from Nebraska, but it's right up there with Ohio for exciting drive through your state. And we went through the whole place. Omaha was cool though, and I didn't realize that Omaha is like you cross the bridge out of Omaha and you're in Iowa. Boom. I did not realize that. I feel like, was it Des Moines the same way? Like Des Moines, it's like Des Moines, boom, you're in Wisconsin. Anyway, thought that was cool. All right, a couple show and tells. I looked back to see on the last couple of episodes, and I thought I had shown this off. Maybe I did on the bobbin, but here's my hand spun, and it's washed now. I just have to like wind the cake. Look at this. This is Three Waters, and this is Scottish Landscape, and oh my god! And look at this. This is 1 4-ounce braid. It's a 2-ply. Just by eyeballing it, I think it's probably a DK. There's some places where it's real fluffy, and some people might call that worsted, but I feel like it's probably a DK. Some places it's real skinny, of course, because it's hand spun. Oh, I can't remember now. I put it onto the whirligig. The measurement's on the phone. It's like over 400 yards. So maybe, based on that, I'd have to say it's probably more of a, I think it's probably more of a DK. Look at that. I made this. Do I need to go to Spin Cycle? I don't. Come on now. Yes, I do. Okay, so there's that for show and tell. What else? Oh, here is my night shift. So you guys, oh no, this isn't my night shift. Why didn't I bring my night shift up here? I will have to, but I started the night lights shawl. It's just a tiny baby shawl. I think I showed you guys. This is the yarn that's the, what the heck is this stuff? The stuff that's like nightshades. God, I have dementia. Anyway, it's not Brooklyn Tweed. And I'm just, words are not coming to me, but, and then of course Spin Cycle. So it's just a teeny baby end of the Nightlight shawl. That I started when I put night shift on hold until I get the house blend. So I'll show that next time. In this bag is what is about to be, and probably by the end of the weekend, because I'm having my Grease ladies, my Rydell Ringtails Fiber Club, seriously, what's happening to my brain? Ladies over on Sunday. So I think this is probably gonna get finished by the end of the weekend. So I may have to pop back on Sunday night or something and do a shorty. I'm stashing down, and I don't hate it anymore. My cable trellis shawl. It is like I bought a new needle, a new cord, 50-inch cord, and it really fit on the cord when I first put it on here, and now it's like slipping off the needle. I don't even hate the brown anymore. It's almost done, you guys. I am on the border. Just pop my hearing aid out of my ear. I am on the border. The baby border. It's gonna be like that in a minute. Oh. This was my longest in jail sentence. Well, pretty much. Remember how I hated this thing? How much I said I gotta finish it because I just hated it and hated it? I don't hate it anymore. And it's just like whipped up. And I've been like, why did I leave this in jail for so long? Stashing down, you guys. Yeah, stashing down. With my Farmer's Daughter fiber purchases and my Yarn Dragon purchases. So what? Whatever. It's the stashing down part that counts. It still counts. And I'm like, this is just like lighting a fire right under my tush to like get on to the next languishing UFO. Seriously thinking that it might be the no, it's not going to be Aurora Cap and Shawl. I'm sorry, but I gotta move on and come back to you. I think it's gonna be the Witching Hour sweater. I think. Although I'm also thinking about some of the other sweaters that are further progressed than that. Like the marled sweater that I can't marled something. Some kind of marled Stephen West that I got that fiber optics yarn for in Rhinebeck last year. Just so I can, yeah. Gonna be at Wisconsin Sheep and Wool in a couple of weeks, and I know that fiber optics is going to also be there, and I know that I'm gonna have to just walk by. I'm afraid they're working on something right now that they're like, this is for Michelle, because she's never going to be able to resist picking up yarn for this project. And they're gonna hang it. I'm gonna be like, damn. I still have the 2 projects that I bought at Sheep and Wool last year. One I haven't even busted into. The other one I got to a point and then got stuck, and I think I'm gonna have to figure things out again to progress that one. And then all of the fiber, well, not all of fiber optics yarn that I got at Rhinebeck, but because I got the halibut sweater, and I got, is that it? The sweater that I've got, that I'm like, I think if I haven't split for sleeves, I'm like, it's time to split for sleeves. I think I did split it, but then I got tangled up with something else. I can't remember what distracted me at that point. Probably something to do with, I don't know, something with spin cycle. So I might jump on that one, finish that sweater, and then in terms of my, closet inmate sweaters that have been in jail, I mean, it's coming up on Halloween. I think I should probably jump on Witching Hour and just do that. Swan show. Gosh, you guys, I think that's all I had for show and tell. And this is the longest one so far. So thanks for bearing with me. I didn't think I was going to give you like a play-by-play on the trip, but as you can tell, had a great time. I'm officially empty nesting. I'm gonna go from this one to my solo Disney trip vlog while I still have energy. At what time is it? It is 6 o'clock. I am gonna need to eat at some point, and I don't want to be going back to work too late tonight, but Tom's already texting me about, are we gonna get pizza or what? So I probably should jump off of this, get a hold of him real quick and say, yes, pizza. And then I know I've got a lot to say about Disney right now. So that one's gonna be probably a longish one too. So if you're watching that, there's another one of those coming, but I wanted to do this first because this is Stashdown. This is what Stashdown is. I'm just piggybacking off Stashdown for the other thing, but I am getting really psyched, which is behind some of this. We're inside a month before my next Disney trip, and so here we go. But keeping that separated because we're already at 1:20 almost. So thanks for holding on, watching this, and sticking around through all of this crazy Stashdown shenanigans. I really missed you guys, so inevitably this is going to be longer. Yeah, like and subscribe. We're at 26 still. Went to 25 for some reason. Somebody decided not to do it, and then somebody else took their place, or they came back. I don't know what, but we're holding at 26. So please like and subscribe, just because it makes me feel good. That's all. Yeah. So get on out there and get your fiber on, and I'll see you in the next one.